Welcome to an episode of Barman Saturdays, and it's time to take a crack at Shark Exorcist. And I have to admit, this film is just awful, and don't expect me to go into a long discussion of it as, Red Letter Media or some other channels that have covered it, because there's been a couple other reviews out there. And quite frankly, it's hard for me to want to spend, half an hour plus, ranting and raving about how bad this film is. Because there's things I could rant about pretty easily, like, the choice and location for this film makes no sense. Like, we're going to put this in the Paris Landing State Park. And if you don't know, that's a park in Tennessee. On the Tennessee River system, it's a dam lake. So, why would there be a shark there? Maybe they go through the dam and get there, but it makes no sense for there to be a great white there. Like, if there was any shark that'd be in the Tennessee River, potentially, it'd be a bull shark. And even most bull sharks, don't like spending large amount of time in fresh water. I mean, I won't deny they can spend a lot of time there, considering, some bull sharks have gotten all the way up the Mississippi River, all the way up to Illinois. So, they've been known to go pretty far up freshwater bodies sometimes, but the odds of you finding, a bull shark even in this area would be very, very small, considering there aren't a lot of them would probably go off a tributary and get, in the Tennessee River system, much less far enough to get into the dam lakes, like the Paris Landing State Park area. It feels like they should have picked a better area for their film, if they wanted a great white, like the coast. Because that's where you're going to be more likely to see great whites, hanging out, near coastal areas looking for prey in those areas. So, yeah, the choice and location is nonsensical. And the fact that everyone acts like it makes sense for there to be a great white there is just baffling to me. Like, how would the great white, work its way up the river system, considering how much fresh water you have to go through, and work its way into a dam lake? Like, there's just no way a great white would get there. So people should not be acting like it's normal for there to just be one hanging about. And if there was a great white that somehow managed to get into this lake, I would assume people would be on the hunt for it to kill it rather quickly. Especially after it killed multiple people, in the same spot, basically. Like, it attacks people always at the same area, around the same beach. The shark's always hanging out at. You think they'd be, just constantly looking for it, and then trying to blow it up with explosives or something. Try the normal stuff to get rid of the demon shark first, where you try, bring in a priest to try and exorcise it. And that's another problem with this film. It doesn't spend any time really with the priest. He's in less than 10 minutes of the film. We get a scene where he's mourning the fact his brother disappeared because he was one of the first victims of a person the shark possessed, because she brought him to the landing area, where she got bitten. And then after, making some erotic play with him, disappeared underneath the water, and then he, gets dragged under by the shark after he's, in 2 feet of water. And yes, this is meant to be a great white shark, so it's huge, but apparently, it can swim in the 2 feet of water just fine. Then again, that seems to be a trope in a lot of these bad, horror movies, that they can have these massive sharks swimming in, shallow wading pools if they want to. Like, oh, watch that shark, it managed to throw itself on the beach and beached itself, and then just quickly pull itself back off the beach, no problem. I can't imagine it would be that easy in real life for a shark if it beached itself on accident. So yeah, there's stuff they could do, considering, they spend so much time, on random characters that never pop up again. Like, there's a scene with some people trying to get into some, was it Delta Zeta group or whatever, some sort of sorority. And it's like, where are these girls coming from? What purpose do they serve? Other than to be potentially, psychologically tortured by the shark, this demonic shark spirit. Which they are, but, they have nothing to do with any of the characters we were following before, so it's just padding inserted into the film that you could have turned over to the priest and have him, researching how to do an exorcism, or trying to bring in, more experienced exorcists, to help them perform the exorcism, being told no because they're busy elsewhere or something, Or they don't believe you that there's a demonically possessed shark out there in a fresh body of water. Something with him to give him more scenes to try and get some character development, or giving him more grounded character, he just exists. And we get another scene, that's padding too. Actually, we get a couple of those. Like, we get we get a start some credits, we then go into another scene, where it's meant to be creepy with a young girl, playing with sharks and stuff. And it's like, you could take, like, the 10 minutes you're spending on that scene, and again, you could have given it to the priest. Or there's, like, a 5-minute scene where this guy's, like, creepily taking pictures of a woman sleeping on a beach, then flipping through his phone, like, looking at all the pictures, he's just, like, sliding it over and over and over again, like, looking at all his photos. Like, instead of using that, for a pointless creep out that goes nowhere and has no bearing on the plot, you could have given that time to some character development or something for the film. It's just like, if you're going to pad out so much, then obviously you didn't write enough stuff, for your film to really make a full-length film, or even a film that was 70 minutes long. So it's just like, all that stuff just piles on to why this film is awful. And it's like I said, like, it's nonsensical in the extreme because of how much they're jumping around from various points to points. That just doesn't feel like it's very well structured at all. I mean, I guess you can argue it looks better than, the last two films I covered, but the fact that, it's so nonsensical just makes it an interesting experience to sit through, maybe, but it's not one I'd recommend people sit through. Like, this is a film you should just skip. And I'll have to agree with Red Letter Media, this feels like, a fetish film in some ways, without the satisfaction of actual adult entertainment. Because we get to watch, a bunch of them writhing around on the ground, pretending, they're getting possessed by demonic spirits. And watching, people throw up. That's also another thing this film seems like, and acts like, it's part of the whole demonic possession stuff, that people, throw up all over the place. I mean, I guess that's lifted from, like, that scene in The Exorcist, where the little girl throws up all over the priest, but, there's only so many times you can do that before it starts feeling, like it's fetish material, rather than, a callback to another film, and a far superior film at that. So yeah, like, it's just avoid the Shark Exorcist. It's not worth watching, and it's not worth really thinking about, probably. Unless you want the headache of trying to figure out how a great white could possibly be in this body of water. Like, who could have put it there and why? And how did it manage to survive for a year plus? And why is there a year time skip in this movie? It starts out with a nun stabbing someone, and calling for Satan to avenge her, because the world has betrayed her. And then they're like, 1 year later. Like why? And why is the nun such an unimportant part of this movie? Like, there's so much stuff they could be doing with, certain characters like the nun, or the priest, or the friends of the demonically possessed woman, that you're just like, why is this film not even trying to focus on any of that stuff to build a more coherent plot? And that doesn't even get into the messed up scene involving this one actress that's either playing a young girl or playing an adult that has severe mental health problems that's left her with the mentality of a small child. And there being a scene where the demonic possessed shark is trying to seduce her with one of her female hosts. Like I don't even know which one of those is arguably worse. I mean, I suppose most would go with the pedophilia angle being worse, but taking advantage of someone, that has the mentality of a small child is really bad too, and didn't really need to be there in this film. It's a scene that just didn't need to exist. Like, at all. Period. Till next time, then.
That's cool, whatever.